Hello survivors and welcome to another video. In this video I'm going to be doing a very short discussion about the Nightmare Challenge, which is the survival road tournament for factions that is going on right now. Most of you all know this is going on. And I'll also be doing 2 weapon polls at the end of the video if you want to tune into that part as well. But we're just going to go through the survival road in terms of what I think's good, what I think's bad, things that I think need to change it. It's the first run of the tournament, and straight up, first runs are generally going to have things that need to be tweaked a little bit. So first off, obviously, it's very time consuming compared to a normal SR. In terms of the amount of stages, obviously that's been doubled. But in terms of the difficulty of those stages, they have probably been at least doubled as well. And when difficulty increases, so does the time required to actually complete that stage. So I would say in terms of actual time you have to put in to complete Legendary now, which is now 250 stages instead of 125. It isn't twice as long because obviously it's not doubling the time. I think it's like 3, maybe even 4 times the amount of time investment you have to put in to be able to take down the opponents, you know, to get through those stages if you want to actually complete Legendary. If you don't want to complete Legendary and you just want to do your natural energy and maybe a couple of cans here and there if you want to just get into the next, you know, tier to get a little bit of bonus rewards, I'd say you're still going to be putting in more time just based on how long those stages are going to take. So that is an obvious major downside to the event, and I'm not really sure how they could maybe make this better. The main thing about Nightmare mode is that it's going to be more difficult, and obviously they want to have more stages as well. So it's just generally going to take more time, much more time investment, and that's just one of those things I think is going to come along with the tournament itself. Something that definitely needs to be added to reduce the amount of time that is spent, you know, on basically something that really doesn't need to have time spent on it. There needs to be some sort of saved team building. Rather than having to create a team every time a stage comes up, there can be stages, for instance, that are alert only and it's against walkers. You can have a saved team that is for walkers, you know, that is alert only, and then you can just insert that team. You don't have to put it in, put all the weapons in, because it alternates between stages quite heavily. So one stage it could be like only alerts against walkers, then the next stage it could be only strong against walkers, and it just takes so long to do this. There is another game I've played called Marvel Strike Force. They implemented this in a part of their game where there's a lot of different roster changes, basically survival roads in terms of how often you have to change rosters in that part of the game. It's called Blitz, where it's effectively like the raid tournament, but it works very differently in that game. But you can create a team, save that team, and then create another team, save that team, and then you can just switch seamlessly between them. Once you've saved it once, you can switch seamlessly between them. And you can have the same characters in multiple teams, or you can have completely different characters. Obviously, in that game, that's where the benefit is. But in this game, you could have obviously a team where you're coming up against walkers where they've got stun on defense walkers, and you want to take in someone who's got a cleanse, but then the next one it's got reflect, and then you want to take in someone that's got guardian, basically. So you can have 2 teams depending on that setup, and I think that definitely needs to be an addition for future survival roads. Obviously, when that's implemented, the first survival road is where you can start saving those teams, and then it's going to be for the rest of the survival roads forever, basically. Whether you can create these teams between tournaments or edit these teams between tournaments, I'm not sure. Maybe you could do it so that you can do it on your normal survival road, and then it'll be also used in tournaments as well. Now, one of the things that I think has both good things and bad things about it is the difficulty of the stages is obviously really difficult when you get up to the high end, and I think once you get into silver, you start to notice that just the buff from bronze to silver is pretty big in terms of pure stats. You're getting into those 3 to 4k defense stat ranges, which is really high. And I would say I have a pretty good roster for a low free-to-play. I do the monthly pass, and I buy 99 cents offers every now and again when they pop up. I do sometimes buy the low-end offers when they're around for events if I think they're very worthwhile. But I don't really spend on things that is going to gain me mass power. Like, I don't do mega pulls that often, and you guys have seen the ones I've done with the coins I've accumulated. They have never really been super lucky in getting that mega game-changing character, but I have got someone like Lydia, who is obviously really great for defense teams, but not really going to give me much power in something like Survival Road. But I think I've got one of the better free-to-play rosters in terms of depth and the amount of characters I have. But this does highlight big weaknesses within my roster and probably within a lot of people who are in the same position as me in terms of spending. So obviously the upside there is I can see where issues are and I can make content around that in terms of what free-to-play potentially will need going forward to make them sort of more balanced towards, you know, being able to participate, especially within Nightmare Challenge. But also as an individual, if there are characters that come up and I have options, I know that certain characters I need more than others based on the fact that I was struggling in certain situations. Like, straight up, I can say straight away, my alert roster seems to be much worse than the rest of my traits. But I think it's also because there haven't really been that many alert characters released within free-to-play that are that good in the last, like, let's say 6 months. We only really had Donnie as a Generation 2 character, and that's pretty much it. I can't really think of many other characters. I might be missing someone, but there isn't anyone else that I can really think of that have been recently released within Alert. So it isn't so much that anything I can do about that right now, but if there was an event where it was like Alert or something else, I would maybe lean more towards the Alert character just based on the fact that I kind of need Alert characters now. Now, in terms of the entry to the Nightmare Challenge, I think that if there are new people coming into the game and this is one of the first experiences they're going to have, it's going to put them off. Because failure is hard to deal with as a human being. It's just one of those things. And you want some level of success. You can have a challenge, but to have no success is bad. Like, for instance, I still remember the very first roadmap when I started the game. I didn't get the character, but I still can remember it as a good experience because there were stage rewards that I was getting. I was getting other things, and then the next week there was another roadmap that came up, and I managed to beat it to get the character. Back then, you could get 3 stars and 4 stars off of roadmaps, and it was a good feeling. You know, it was a good feeling. The first character I missed, I never remember what character it was. It was like a Joshua or something like that, and 4-star Joshua. It was heartbreaking. But when I got that first 4-star Molly for Telltale character off one of those roadmaps, I was like, this is just so great. It was such a good feeling. I think this needs a better entry. I did talk about this in my last live stream, and the idea sort of has developed a little bit. I think there should be a sort of entry stage where it could be called like warm-up before the Nightmare Challenge starts, and it can be 8 stages, and one of those stage rewards can be a can. So veteran players will just breeze through this. This will be so easy, like really, really easy. Like 100 HP, 100 defense, 100 attack for every single character you're coming up against. Really low amounts of walkers. And it's just so you can just breeze through. You get a can to replace the energy you've just spent. You get basically everything back. It can even be 4 stages. You can even just like, don't have to make it 8. You can make it 4, so there's just a little bit of a bonus for veterans in terms of being able to get through that, and they get 4 extra energy on that can. But just so that newer players, when they come in, they can do that, and then basically there should be a pop-up that comes up for Nightmare Challenge and just says, now the real Nightmare Challenge begins. This is extremely difficult, you know? For veterans, it's not going to be extremely difficult straight away, but for new players, they need to be told this is like the hardest thing you're going to have to do, and you're probably going to fail. Like, make them realize that that's the case, rather than just like, here you go and do this, and they just absolutely get obliterated, and then they just feel bad that they're not very good. And because we need new players in the game, obviously, we need to not have new players just be like, oh, this is how the game is, okay, see you later. And that's basically how a lot of them would feel doing Nightmare Challenge if it was the first event they ever did. Obviously, the likeliness of that happening is small, but at the same time, don't take that risk. There's no point. There's just no need. So lastly, we'll look at the rewards, and as I did talk about it a little bit, the stage rewards for completion of each stage, it does seem weird. I think the rewards are nice, but the scaling, like between bronze and silver, in terms of how difficult bronze was versus how difficult silver was massive. Like, so different in terms of power. And now I'm in gold again. It's massively increased. I'm still hitting 3 stars on a lot of missions, but there's the odd time like where I'll just get decimated off trait, like someone who's a fast character will destroy my strong character with a rush, like 3k damage, and there's not much you can do about that. So revives and stuff, you have to take a really good team in, and I don't think you're getting rewarded per stage increase. I think if it was literally like an extra gold mod and an extra Benny and an extra like 1 to 2,000 league tokens each one would be much better. So the first one as is, or maybe reduce that slightly, maybe to 1 gold mod and 3 bennies, and then the next one would be 2 4, then 3 5, then 4 6, and then 5 7. I was losing the plot there. And then obviously have the league token scale up for each one as well. I think the rank rewards are actually pretty good though. I think they could obviously increase certain areas, mainly in the lower areas, 11th to 20th and 21st to 50th. Basically, I think there should be assault tickets for everybody, and it should be quite a reasonable amount as well. You know, the people who are lower ranked aren't going to be able to get those tickets because they're not the mega active people in the game. But giving them assault tickets promotes activity within the upcoming trial by fire event, and that would have been an obvious thing to do. The assault tickets is just about promoting activity and something else. Obviously, the top people getting 600,000 as a faction is awesome for the top people, but the bottom people should get a reasonable amount. I'd say like 30,000 for the 1,000 each for 11th to 20th and 21st to 50th is fine. They're most likely going to run a lower tier faction assault anyway, but it'll just give them a better chance to run something else, get another chance to get pulls on another wheel, and just maybe pull them into the game and get a bit more invested. If you're not giving them any rewards to, you know, actually participate in trial by fire, for instance, I don't know what you're hoping they're going to do in terms of play the game more. You want to make them want to spend more time in the game, surely. Like I said, I think the rank rewards down there should be increased as well. There should be 2 of this secondary crate for 11th to 20th. The Lilith should also drop off 1 per, you know, scale down 1 per go. But it goes from, I think, 4 of each down to 2 of each. It should go, obviously, 4, 3, 2, 1, from 3rd to 10 to 4, to 11 to 20, to 21st to 50th. And then these bags should just go literally as it is, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, rather than it going to a different bag and reducing it to 1. So one last thing I'd say is the energy. The Survival Road energy, obviously, it caps out at 8. I think having cans give you 8 energy is fine. Having 8 energy when you first start the tournament is fine. But I think the hard cap should be higher than 8. So the soft cap should be 8, i.e. cans and initial energy that you get. But I think the hard cap should be 16 or maybe 32. So people overnight can obviously gain energy and not have to, especially now that this is so much more time consuming. You know, waking up and autoing bronze for 5 or 6 stages or 8 stages was not too bad. You could do it half asleep. Whereas now you can't really play this game half asleep. And, you know, I guess the incentive there is you've got to can more. You've got to can more anyway just because there's so many stages. I hope this is not too reoccurring either, and so we get normal Survival Road tournaments, just because Survival Roads is pretty nice, it's okay, but this is very time consuming. It's basically made it like War. The rewards are pretty nice, but you don't want to have a game that just drains a lot of time. It should be like fun, it should be enjoyable, and parts of this is fun and enjoyable, but some of it isn't, but all of it is very, very time consuming. But that's the end of my little look at the Survival Roads. I'm going to do my weapon pulls now, however. Okay, the 2 weapons now, and I think we're going for Absolute Defense on the Mercer weapon, and we're going for another 8% weapon, of course. We get a crit. We get a crit. Can we get that good stuff? No. Bonus defense when being attacked by enemies with more than 60% of their HP. I'm still going to keep trying for absolute defense, I think. Next one. Is it an attacking weapon or is it a defensive weapon? It's an attacking weapon. It's going to crit as well. Is it going to be that good stuff? Bonus AP, but random, unfortunately. Randomly give to one other team member. I think this could be okay. The only problem we've got is a lot of the time you have those 8% weapons on support characters, and if the support character got the 20%, it wouldn't be that good, especially if it's that command. So again, no weapons. That guy. L's being that guy. That's the end of my video though, guys. Do tell me what you think about the new Survival Road Nightmare Challenge. Are you enjoying it? Is there any tweaks that you think that could make it a little bit more enjoyable, a little bit better? You know, it could be very small things. It could be big things. It can be small things. What do you guys think? But that's the end of my video, guys. Thank you very much for tuning in. And as always, keep on surviving, guys. Keep on surviving.